Alright guys, I think it's time. I've been playing Persona 4 long enough, and I think I can finally do the impossible. A speedrun. Let's begin. This'll take far longer than I thought. Speedrunning has always been a very fascinating subject for me. The idea of completing a game in ways the developers never intended to really goes to show the absolute dedication a fan or player has. Figuring out glitches, calculating the frames of every move at your disposal, and exploiting that knowledge is insane. Let me ask you a question. What happens when a developer intentionally designs a game based around speedrunning? With very smooth controls, a simple yet appealing art style, and a soundtrack that fits the mood? Well, may I present to you today's subject. Neon White. I didn't really know about this game until a few weeks after it's released, let alone want to review it. So I suppose after giving it a try and seeing what it had to offer could lead to a fun little production. But, wow, where do I even begin with this? Might as well give some context about it. Neon White is a first-person shooter and platformer released on June 16th for Steam and the Nintendo Switch. The game was first revealed back in February 17th, 2021, with a trailer detailing a general idea of what the game is about. There's two things that really surprised me in retrospect. One, the same trailer was actually featured on a Nintendo Direct around that time. The fact I didn't even remember that really goes to show how overshadowed it was despite what was shown. And two, Annapurna Interactive was the publisher behind Neon White. This is a studio with a small yet very impressive back catalog. At the time of recording this production, they just released Stray. It's a game where you play as a cat in this cyberpunk-esque city, and the visuals are absolutely outstanding. On top of that, they're also the ones behind Donut County, a super charming and enjoyable game with a cute little story. I should probably review Donut County now. Point is, these are more than capable developers who can really do unique and fun experiences. So when I found out that this was the same team behind Neon White, I was shocked. In any case, why don't we get on to the game itself? This may be one of the more out there, freeform, or basically simple productions compared to our usual stuff. So I hope this still stays as a pretty enjoyable presentation for you all. Anyway, let's begin. The basic premise of this game is centered around these living beings known as neons. To put it simply, neons are people from the real world who've been unfairly taken to hell. Fortunately, an annual competition is held by these two called the Believers. According to them, they're able to speak with God and do the major announcements during the event. The rules for the competition are simple. Whoever kills the most demons by the end of 10 days, they're able to live and enjoy heaven. As for the main plot, you start as a neon called White. Coincidentally, you also end up with a few other neons that seem familiar to you, those being red, violet, and yellow. However, White doesn't have any clue why they know him or what they've done in the real world. As you spend time with those named neons, you try your best to go up in the ranks by killing all of the demons in different parts of heaven, during which you also meet the head of authority, Mikey. He's mainly there to assign jobs to everyone, but eventually you start to see a lot more about him, including the harsh reality of heaven. You see, heaven was actually known as Sheol. But since the Believers didn't see it as how they saw fit, they overthrew God and got one of the books that keeps the balance of the universe, that being the Book of Death. The only reason they don't have the other is because God held it as he was killed, and it could only take this one chosen being to get it. The one who is capable of it is surprisingly White himself. So he gets the book, but Green, I'll get into him, don't worry, wants the book for himself to be able to rule over the universe, and so it now becomes a fight to the death between you and him. This is only one half of the plot. The other is about you, Violet, Yellow, Red, and Green's history. Around halfway through the game, you come to terms that you were in a team of assassins with those four, and Green as the leader. Your last mission was to kill Blue, Green's former boss, but while Green did take him down, it killed the rest of the team, and that is how they all ended up here. Green is under control from the Believers after proving himself to be the most powerful neon in heaven. Sadly though, as the story progresses and you try to defeat Green, your friends all sacrifice themselves in order to stop him. That's how it ends up with only you and him until the end. While the story does seem very simple, in some cases kind of predictable, I still really liked it. There's a lot of very wholesome and funny moments in it. Sure, most of the characters and plot points can be cliché, but also just odd. However, I'd say that's what makes it quite engaging. It feels like a way to poke fun at common anime tropes like the basic protagonist or whatever you can call this.
Me too. You're so lucky you don't have big boobs, White. They get it the worst.
You also do get to learn quite a lot about heaven itself, like how neons hang out at this bar since the believers prohibit them from doing anything other than killing demons or just hang out with the believers, and maybe it's just a guilty pleasure seeing very basic stories, or the writing isn't as bad as people say. All I can say is that Neon White has a relatively basic setup but a pretty solid story. Speaking of which, on to one of the best parts of Neon White, its gameplay. Oh boy, we're finally onto this part. As mentioned earlier, Neon White is a mix of a first-person shooter with platforming elements. And to top it off, it's heavily designed around the idea of speedrunning and just finishing the levels as quickly as possible. The game will give you in almost every stage just one objective: defeat every demon in the stage and get to the goal. You do this by collecting these cards scattered along your path and basically behave as normal guns. You have a pistol, shotgun, SMG, and even a rocket launcher. You can use your default weapon too, but it has very limited range. It's mostly used in very specific moments or if you don't have any guns but need to kill an enemy. So you'll be heavily reliant on cards for both killing enemies and speeding up your movement. To go faster here, each card gives off a different ability if you discard it. For example, the shotgun gives you a strong push that can kill enemies at any direction, the pistol gives off a double jump, and the SMG can shoot at a timed bomb that can hit all enemies around. The key here is to really understand each weapon's utility and benefits for certain situations. Just being able to, I don't know, do multiple jumps off the wall with the rocket launcher while you shoot enemies from far away is so fun and satisfying. The enemies also get pretty creative over the course of the game. You have these enemies that can be killed by jumping on them to give you a boost. There's one enemy where you can kill it by landing on a certain part of it and it makes you go faster. And, this monstrosity. But seriously, the game does so many new things to keep things engaging. Heck, you even fight Green as a boss fight, and I'm shocked that they got this to even work with this kind of gameplay. You basically keep killing all the demons with the cards as you approach Green to take his health away, but at the same time he's attacking you, so it raises the stakes a lot higher. When I got to his first boss encounter, I was amazed at how fluid the battle went. That's another thing about Neon White. The levels may be short and simple, yes, but when you're playing for the first time or after so long, you tend not to know what's going on. So you just try to replay the level multiple times so you can get the best time possible. You can get one of 4 different medals depending on how fast you beat a stage. These can help unlock stuff like the leaderboard for that level's time, hints for faster routes, and gifts. These are the game's main collectible, and they're essential if you want to get the quote-unquote true ending, and also get more insight into each main character you come across. This was pretty unexpected considering the levels here were made to be done as fast as possible, so to change that up and give you a reason to fully explore them is great. I will say, the music is very fitting for the game itself and I enjoy a lot of the tracks. Graphics-wise, it looks good too. For an anime-esque style, it's very solid and simple. It's a very less is more kind of situation here. Honestly, the only real complaint I have for the game as a whole is that it feels kind of floaty. When you're super high in the air, you fall slowly, like you're sort of a feather. This isn't that big of a deal, but it does limit what kind of strategies you can do for beating a stage if you're speedrunning. All in all, Neon White has amazing gameplay that keeps it enjoyable and exhilarating. Even for people who don't speedrun, it's a very nice introduction to what it can feel like. Based on how I've been feeling on Neon White, it's pretty fair to say it sold super well and had tons of praise, right? Yeah, seems about right. I don't know the specifics of how well this game did, but seeing the Steam reviews here made me think that it sold around less than 10,000 copies.
Hello everyone, this is me, Minty. I just wanted to clear out something really quick. So basically, when I was doing a little more research on the topic of Neon White's sales, I found out that the game actually sold around 170k units. So, yeah. Apologies for that little mistake, I just felt like it was necessary to clear it out. So, back to the production.
Not bad for a small studio, if I say so myself. I highly doubt that Neon White will ever get a sequel, let alone a spin-off, but I'm just glad we have the product that came to be thanks to them. Sure, the writing can be very cheesy, and maybe it's a bit too short for some, but if you just want a quick and fast-paced single-player experience, Neon White is an absolute must. It's around $10 to $20 on Steam, and slightly more on the Switch. And that wraps up today's production. Be sure to hit that red button to continue seeing more projects from us. This was a pretty short but also fun review to film. Now if you excuse me, I'll continue on with Persona 4 speedrun. Ooh, I pressed that 1 millisecond earlier. At this rate, I'll get the world record. This is Akari from Mintjoy Pictures.